Okay, for this next set of acrylic, we are going to do 3 more techniques. Again, I've got my water, sorry, it's focusing again, water, paintbrushes, I've got my paint palette, and paper, and always paper towel. All right, so on the top here, we're going to draw a line again. We are going to write gradient. Draw a line. We are going to write wash and draw a line, and then we are going to write dry brush. Okay. So I think gradient is one of the most important things to learn when we are using acrylic paint, especially for those realistic tones. Sometimes it's hard to get a gradient because we don't want to have too much water on our brush. So we can sort of come in here and mix different colors together to create what we need. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just do a gradient from blue to red. So I'm going to do blue, like blue, violet, violet, red, violet, and red. Try to get all those in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some paint, and I'm going to just put a little bit more paint in our little wells here so that I can go in there and dip it in there instead of having to make my color not what I want, right? Because I want that pure red at the end, and I want the pure blue at the beginning. Okay, so wash my brush out again, make sure I'm really drying it, and here we go. So I'm just going to start with putting some blue down on the page. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of red to my blue. So you can either just do it on your brush or you can mix it with your blue. I like to mix on the paper, which sometimes can be very frustrating. But I don't know, I just do it better that way. So again, I just brushed it off and came back in to take away some of that paint. So now I've got this blue to like this blue violet. Now I want to get a violet, so I'm going to come in here and mix my blue with my red here. That's a little too red, so again, I can come in here because it's not, that's what that well is used for, right? I will tell you, I don't know why I picked these colors because purple is one of my hardest colors to mix. I don't know why. It just is. Ask me to mix any other colors, and I got it. But purple takes me a little while. It's probably why I like to, ooh, that looks like a great purple. Okay, so it's probably why I like to do it on the paper. So I'm going to bring this purple in here and sort of blend it up. I might need to come back in and grab a little blue to blend it down. And I'm going to take some red, which I already used all of it. Some red and blending that on my purple, coming back to grab a little purple. So acrylic paint is all about layering. So you can see me coming back and forth on all these different areas, making sure that it's really blended how I want. Making sure we get this nice red down here, maybe adding a little bit more purple in here to make that red violet, violet, blue violet, blue. So I did that pretty quickly, but it's really all about doing it while it's wet. You can't make a gradient. You can't put the blue down, let it dry, and come back the next day. It's never going to work for you. You're going to have to start all the way over. So making a gradient, you really need to make sure you are set to do what you need to do in that time because it needs to be wet to blend. You can't blend dry colors. So I've got blue to blue violet to red violet to red, and we've got a really nice gradient. All right, for our wash, I'm actually going to take this because there's not a lot of paint in here. You guys can see there's not a ton of paint in here. I'm going to take this for our wash, and I am going to wash out my paintbrush, and then I'm going to take paint. I'm going to put it in here. I want this to be like almost watercolory. So when we do a wash, we really want it to be translucent like this. So that's why I had hardly any paint on there. I'm also going to come in because I'm going to show you to do a little gradient wash. So I'm going to come in, wash my brush out, and I'm going to add some water to this blue section here. So again, a lot of water. You can see that there's a ton of water in there. I'm going to have this blue wash here, very light and nice. I'm going to come in with the purple and come down at the bottom, wipe my brush off so I can come in here and sort of take that. You can see that it immediately blended because I took some of that paint away. I can always come back and put another layer of the wash on, but I want to be mindful of the fact that it's supposed to be nice and thin. So that's our wash. Really, really close to watercolor. That's sort of the beauty of acrylic paint, is that you can make it as thick as you want or as thin as you want. All right, so dry brushing is a really, really great technique. I'm gonna dry off my paintbrush here. I'm gonna do red because I've done a lot of blue. So I'm gonna do red here, and I'm just gonna put a layer of red on my page. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in with my smaller brush here, and I'm gonna use white. So dry brushing is really great for lots of different kinds of textures, cloud textures, maybe even animal fur, depending on what you're doing. I should have made another spot, but that's okay. Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna come back in and dry my brush off. I'm gonna make another spot so I can show you a couple different techniques on the dry brushing. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Animal fur, tree, bushes, all those kinds of things. The thing about dry brushing is you literally want a dry brush. You don't want it to be very wet at all. And then you're gonna take some paint on your brush. So I'm not really loading it. I'm not like dipping it. I'm just sort of putting it in and then putting it against the edge of my palette so that I don't have a ton. And then what I'm going to do, sorry, grabbing another paper towel, I'm gonna take some of this paint and get it off because it's called dry brush for a reason. I mean, so you can see that there's not a ton of paint on my brush. So then what I can do, and you can always add more, but it's always best to start off with less. And you can do this on a dry paint, or you can do it on wet paint, but you're gonna come in and you're gonna dry brush on top, and it'll start to get these really beautiful details or textures. So again, just taking some. So this would be really great for clouds or different trees or bushes. So you can see that really beautiful texture there that's coming in. And you can, again, layer it to make it lighter or darker. But I always sort of dab it off on my paper towel first. But you can see I can come in and do these with different colors. It's really, really a cool texture that you can get. If you want to do more of like a animal texture, sorry, drying this off a little bit. I'm going to really get my paint off here and come back in, get a little bit more. If you want to do animal texture, it's really nice to like sort of hold your brush like this, and then come in and do like lines like that. I need a little bit more paint. I got a little bit off, too much off. Oh, 5 minutes though. But you can get these really cool brush strokes on here with just coming back and forth. So you can see here, it's focusing, there we go. These really cool brush strokes that you can get on top. So that can even be used for, I don't know, mimicking wind or even someone's hair blowing. But dry brushing is a fantastic tool to use. If you use it on wet paint, you will see like my brush is getting, has some red on it. If you use it with dry paint, then you won't get that, and the colors will be a little bit more vibrant. So it's really up to you on what you want to do. So we are going to come back to our wash tomorrow and put some stuff on top, or when it's dry. So that's it for today.